Things first started to feel wrong. When a deleted message popped up in the neighborhood property management group at 3 in the morning. I picked up my phone and glanced at the group notice. It said all residents of Unit 2, Building 3 should go downstairs immediately for a PCR test. Put on a coat, bring your ID, and pull up your testing QR code. Then the message was gone. Even the deletion notice had disappeared completely. I stared blankly at the dark screen. 3 seconds later, my finger opened the owner's group chat history on its own and started scrolling up. The last message was still the water outage notice property management had sent at 10 last night. This was already the third late-night PCR test notice this week. I hadn't taken the first two seriously. But today was different. Outside the window, a sharp smell of disinfectant hung in the air. It smelled oddly sweet, with a hint of something bloody. At 7 in the morning, I took out the trash and wandered over toward Building 3. I saw police tape stretched across the unit entrance. There were no medical workers there at all. Pretending to just pass by, I looked through the crack of the half-closed fire door. Deep in the stairwell, I saw several black body bags piled up. The zipper on one of them had split open. A pale wrist was sticking out. Fingernails were packed with black blood. I didn't go back to my rental. My hands were shaking as I messaged my landlord. Miss Wang, I'm ending the lease. I'll move out at the end of the month. I want my deposit back. Oh, Xiao Chen, you're moving out now? The penalty won't be cheap. And after I kept pressing her, she added one more thing. Don't go to the old factory area on the west side. I heard there was an explosion there last night. I searched for the West Suburb Industrial Zone explosion, only to find that every news link had gone dead. Following the recommended articles, I traced it back step by step, until I finally found a post on a local forum that said, someone saw fire trucks haul away a whole truckload of human-shaped charcoal that was still moving. A wave of dizziness hit me. The old Red Star Pharmaceutical Factory site in the West Suburb was what the older generation called Institute 704. Decades ago, it had been built as a microbial strain repository for wartime preparedness. In recent years, it had been rebranded as a civilian biotech company, but its gates stayed shut year-round. There were guards posted at the entrance 24 hours a day. It was never just some ordinary chemical plant. My instinctive unease overpowered everything else. I immediately messaged my supervisor to ask for leave, saying I had the flu and a fever. At the same time, I immediately started packing my things. My supervisor quickly replied with a voice message, sounding a little cautious. You have the flu too? What symptoms do you have? I thought for a moment, then typed back. High fever and a cough. My supervisor replied right away. Don't come to the office for now. Wait until you're better. This was the same supervisor who normally recorded it if you were away from your desk for even 10 minutes. But today, he actually gave me a long break on his own. If he hadn't suddenly changed, then someone in his circle must have heard something too. I packed my bags as fast as I could. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw several big boxes of instant noodles on the shelf that I hadn't even opened yet. I had originally stocked up on them for late-night snacks. Now they reminded me of something else. Once chaos broke out, survival supplies like these would definitely become hard to find. I immediately called my mom. It sounded really noisy on her end. When she picked up, she sounded even more anxious than I was. I was just about to call you. News says some unknown flu is spreading through the big cities. The hospitals are almost full. Your dad has already taken time off and come home. You need to hurry back too. Don't let anything happen to you out there. I answered calmly. I know. I'm looking at tickets now. You two shouldn't stay in the county town either. Go back into the mountains. To my guest house. My mom was clearly stunned for a moment. The money-losing guest house of mine was in the mountains of western Zhejiang, about 30 or 40 kilometers from the city. Last year, on a whim, I spent 300,000 yuan renovating it into a digital nomad base. Business was just average afterward, so I didn't pay much attention to running it. My mom rarely went there either. Don't ask why. Big cities aren't safe. The county will be affected soon too. You two need to go into the mountains right away. I'll come straight there and meet up with you. I said quickly. Before you go, bring plenty of food, water, and supplies. Pack as much as you can. I hung up the phone. Then I grabbed my bag and rushed out the door. As soon as I entered the subway station, I found that all westbound Line 5 trains were skipping stops. Meanwhile, trains toward East High-Speed Rail Station were only running once every 20 minutes. One train. The station was packed with people. Most of them were carrying bags of all sizes. Everyone was anxiously staring at the real-time arrival board. I knew I wasn't the only smart one. Some of them had also realized danger was closing in. Seeing that, I gave up on the high-speed train right away. Then I hailed a taxi nearby and headed straight for the airport. On the way to the airport, I kept refreshing the few overpriced tickets left while calling the guest house manager. Uncle Zhang, I'm sending you 50,000 yuan right now. I need you to do a few things for me. Once it's done, I'll send you another 50,000. Uncle Zhang was startled on the other end of the line. Chen, what's going on? Don't ask questions. There's no time. Uncle Zhang, drive the pickup to the town's hardware store and supermarket right now. I want you to buy up every bag of rice, canned food, and household medicine you can find. Remember, it has to be in stock. Bring it straight back to the yard. Also, weld the big iron gate in the courtyard wall shut. Don't open it for anyone but me. After hanging up, I looked at the huge chunk missing from my bank balance. Instead, I felt relieved. At a time like this, an unknown threat was deadlier than being broke. I only trusted supplies I could get my hands on right away. The airport was more chaotic than I expected, with a long line at security. A lot of the security staff didn't seem to have shown up. Security was moving much slower than usual. After scanning my code, the staff member hurriedly waved me through. You're lucky. This might be the last flight. The gate was packed with people. I had bought business class with priority boarding. After taking my seat, I looked out the window. At the end of the runway, the sky was gray, like a downpour was about to hit. Suddenly, the man in the seat beside me jerked violently. It was a big movement, but he was bundled up from head to toe. A black hoodie was pulled over his head. He had a mask on his face, and a thick scarf wrapped around his neck. Sir, are you feeling okay? The man didn't say anything. He just waved a hand and lowered his head even more. I put on my mask too. Silently, I edged closer to the window. My heart started racing for no reason. The moment the plane took off, I closed my eyes and repeated to myself, in a few more hours, I'll be home. Once I'm home, I'll be safe. The engines roared at full power as the plane began a steep climb. Through the window, I saw the city's traffic below grinding to a halt. Red taillights merged into a long river. In the distance, dark clouds were closing in. A heavy storm seemed about to break. The plane flew steadily on. Under the heavy clouds in the distance, a faint flash of lightning flickered by. Just then, I heard a faint noise from the seat beside me. The man wrapped up from head to toe was trembling so slightly it was almost hard to notice. I put as much distance between myself and the man as I could. I started regretting choosing the window seat. The flight attendant noticed something was wrong and leaned down slightly. Sir, do you need medical assistance? Just as the flight attendant's fingers were about to touch the man's shoulder, the man suddenly jerked his head up. My mind went completely blank. I fumbled with my seatbelt and awkwardly climbed over the armrest. In the chaos, I caught a glimpse of a commotion breaking out in economy behind me. More screams and crashes rang out. I had no time to look back and desperately pushed my way forward. Only one thought was in my mind: find the crew. I had to get the situation under control. At last, I reached the curtain to the front cabin, yanked the curtain open. My heart nearly stopped. The cockpit door was actually wide open. The pilot's seat was empty. On the floor, a captain lifted his head from his colleague, his face smeared with blood. The autopilot warning light was flashing wildly, but no one was paying attention. I felt the plane start to tilt unnaturally. A deafening blast nearly split my eardrums. The side of the plane scraped hard against a building's glass facade, sending countless blinding sparks flying. The moment of impact, I felt a scorching wave of air rush in through the opening, and flames swallowed everything in front of me. I sucked in a sharp breath and shot up from my seat. My seatbelt yanked me hard back down. There were no flames, and no mutated infected people. Only the steady low hum of the engines. The man in the seat beside me was still coughing. The flight attendant was crouched beside him, holding a forehead thermometer and a basic heart rate monitor. Sir, your temperature is a bit high, and your heart rate is a little fast. We've already notified the destination, and airport medical staff on the ground will be ready. After the plane lands, please cooperate with the examination. The man nodded weakly and mumbled his thanks. So it had only been a nightmare. I slowly leaned back against the seat, my heart still pounding. That terrifyingly real feeling of falling, and the burning pain of being swallowed by flames. Every detail was frighteningly clear. It was like something out of a movie. The plane landed smoothly, taxied to the gate, and the cabin door opened. I quickly grabbed my backpack and rushed out. But the scene in the terminal made my heart race all over again. People were everywhere, even more packed than the airport had been when I arrived. Luggage was piled all over the floor. Many people were sitting right on the ground, or leaning against the walls, their faces full of exhaustion and anxiety. An emergency bulletin from the local news station was on the screen. The footage showed the entrance to a hospital in some city. If you develop a fever, cough, fatigue, unusual behavior, or other symptoms, please go to a designated fever clinic right away. I snapped back to reality and looked around at the flight information again. Huge blocks of glaring red showed canceled, delayed, and pending flights. Only a handful of flights were still listed as normal. Listen to me. It's going to be okay. All the noise mixed together, grating on everyone's nerves. I picked up my pace and rushed all the way out of the airport. As I reached out to hail a taxi, I quickly called my mom. Mom, have you made it to the mountains yet? We're here. We just moved the stuff Uncle Zhang bought into the house and are sorting it out now. Did you get off the plane? Did everything go smoothly? I've landed. Things out here aren't looking good. We need to prepare for the worst. Mom, you and Dad need to find a way to get 2 more high-power inverter generators and water purification equipment, plus solar panels. I'll send you a supply list later. Go with Dad, wear masks, and don't talk to anyone on the way. Don't worry about the price. Getting what's in stock is what matters most. I'll have your dad start calling people right now. Be careful on the road. Go straight back to the mountains. Don't stop in the county town. I know. The taxi sped away from the airport. I looked out the window. The night around us was gloomy and dark. Sirens wailed sharply in the distance. Every nerve in me was stretched to the breaking point. Mountain Guesthouse was my strongest card. I could only hope it would help me survive the catastrophe that was coming. From this moment on, I had to race against time. The taxi sped along the winding mountain road for nearly 2 hours, before finally stopping in front of the familiar iron gate. The iron gate opened a crack from the inside. Uncle Zhang's wary face appeared. He only breathed a sigh of relief when he saw it was me. He pushed the gate open. Supplies were piled like a mountain in the courtyard. Bags of rice and flour were stacked neatly. Beside them were dozens of boxes of canned food. There were also barrels of cooking oil and cases of bottled water. Tools from the hardware store, axes, shovels, crowbars, and wire mesh, scattered messily off to one side. My parents ran out of the house. My mother pulled me into a tight hug. My father just patted my shoulder in silence. We found generators. They're being delivered by truck now. The price is 3 times the usual rate. There wasn't much water purification equipment in stock, but I took apart the old filtration system from our old family home. With the dozens of filter cartridges your mom bought, they should hold us for a while. What about the solar panels? The last 5 sets in town are all in the truck. Your dad and I went together. We also bought 4 sets of high-capacity batteries, just like you said. So we immediately started sorting out the equipment that filled the yard. The night grew darker, but no one suggested taking a break. I pulled out my phone, but the signal kept cutting in and out. The last news headline I managed to load said the city hospital had suspended regular outpatient services. They were putting everything into treating patients with fevers. Several violent assault cases had happened at the municipal hospital, and police were sealing off the scene. It looked like things outside were getting worse by the minute. Uncle Zhang had worked as a welder when he was younger. He and my father were in charge of reinforcing the perimeter wall. The inn's original brick wall was only 2 meters high. We decided to add barbed wire and broken glass. I dug some angle steel left over from last year's renovation, out of the storage room. Uncle Zhang used a welding torch to fasten it along the top of the wall. My father smashed beer bottles and cemented the shards one by one along the inside edge of the wall. By 3 in the morning, the wall reinforcement was finished. Uncle Zhang welded 3 crossbars onto the inside of the big iron gate. He also added a floor-to-ceiling lock that could only be opened from the inside. I tried it, and I couldn't move it at all. It still wasn't enough. We needed lookout points too. So we brought over some scaffolding. Built 2 simple lookout platforms inside the wall, at the southeast and northwest corners. They're just high enough for half a head to show, so we could watch outside the wall without being too obvious. Just before dawn, the generators arrived. The technician drove up in a small truck and unloaded 2 generator units, without even stopping for water. And he was ready to leave. The county is starting to close the roads. I heard there are more and more patients. The local hospitals can't take them all, so they're sending them elsewhere. They say the people who get sick stop acting human. After saying that, he told each of us to take care, then drove off into the morning fog. I was in charge of installing the solar panels on the roof. Meanwhile, my father moved the generators to the best ventilated spot. All 5 sets of panels were mounted on the roof. We adjusted the panels to the best angle for sunlight. Wires ran through the pre-drilled openings and connected to the battery bank and inverter in the living room. Uncle Zhang helped with the wiring, but as he worked, he kept looking toward the mountains beyond. As for Uncle Zhang's family, his wife had passed away years ago. His son was in the provincial capital. When he called yesterday, he said his company had everyone working from home. He told me not to worry. I could hear the tremble in his voice. By noon, the power system was basically finished. We tested the switchover process. Solar power would come first, then it would automatically switch to the generator. The inn's original grid connection would only be used as a last resort. The original grid connection. My father wrote down each machine's fuel consumption in detail in his notebook. He also noted the runtime and key maintenance points. Mom made a simple lunch, canned stew with rice. None of us said a word while we ate. Only the radio kept cutting in and out with the news. Supplies remain adequate. Temporary traffic controls are in place in some areas. Avoid going to crowded places. All citizens are advised to. Then the signal suddenly cut out. All that was left was the hiss of static. From that day on, the news broadcasts never came back. On the eve of the apocalypse, we rushed to retrofit the mountain inn. It was our final preparation for what was coming. By then, cell service was completely gone. The radio could only pick up static. Dad dug an old walkie-talkie out of a corner of the warehouse. The battery had swollen, but after we charged it, it somehow still worked. Uncle Zhang remembered the hardware store in town might still have walkie-talkies in stock, so he volunteered to drive down the mountain and buy a few more. Possible, he could also pick up a shortwave radio. It was too risky. The mountain road might already be blocked. I'll take the back road. Hardly anyone uses it. I want to know what's really going on out there. In the end, we reached a compromise. Dad and Uncle Zhang would take the pickup along the back road. I'd follow behind on the motorcycle, keeping about 100 meters back. I'd be ready to help at any moment. The road down the mountain was quieter than we expected. Normally, there would be tea pickers and hikers around at this hour. Now the entire mountain area was dead silent. As we neared the town entrance, we saw a roadblock. It was a crude barricade made from junked cars and tree trunks. Several figures stood guard behind it, and Uncle Zhang stopped the car. Through the binoculars, I saw they were wearing masks. Their eyes were wary. He waved for Uncle Jang to turn around. Looked like the town had been completely sealed off, with no outside vehicles allowed in. On the way back, Uncle Jang suddenly slammed on the brakes up ahead. I caught up to see what was going on, and found an overturned delivery truck at the intersection. The driver's seat was covered in blood, but the driver was nowhere to be seen. Everything around us was deathly still. Packages of all sizes were scattered through the cargo area. We worked up the courage to search quickly, and found some useful packages. One had been shipped from an outdoor supply store. Inside were 3 brand new walkie-talkies. There were also 2 tents and a full set of camping cookware. Another package actually contained 20 power banks and portable solar charging panels. It was like someone had stocked up but never had the chance to receive the order. We didn't dare stay long. We loaded everything usable onto the pickup and got out fast. By the time we got back to the inn, it was already evening. Mom was standing anxiously on the lookout platform. She finally breathed a sigh of relief when she saw us. At night, we tested communication with the new walkie-talkies. 3 devices had a clear signal throughout the inn. After Dad adjusted the antennas, we could even pick up faint snippets of conversations from over 10 kilometers away. They were all chaotic cries for help and warnings. They're beyond saving. Don't try to help them. Those things are pounding on the door. They've completely lost their minds. Don't go to the big cities. They're no different from hell now. I turned off the walkie-talkie, my palms slick with cold sweat. By the 3rd day, we had completely lost contact with the outside world. Luckily, we were crossing the remaining items off our list one by one. We had enough food stored for 4 people to last 3 months. If we rationed it, we could make it last half a year. For water, we had well water with a filtration system, plus 50 sealed barrels of mineral water. For emergencies, we had a full supply of medicine. The power system had 2 backups. That afternoon, we began converting the inn's basement. It wasn't big, but it had concrete walls on all 4 sides and only one vent, which led to the hillside behind the house. I immediately decided to turn it into our final safe room. We moved some of our most important supplies into the basement. Half the medicine, 1/3 of the canned food, all the batteries, and 1 walkie-talkie. Then we laid moisture-proof mats on the floor and set out sleeping bags and emergency lights. If the worst happened, this would be our last line of defense. By dusk, we had finished all the preparations. 4 of us stood in the courtyard, looking at the mountain inn we had turned into a fortress for the end of the world. We felt relieved, but there was also a heaviness in our hearts. At the same time, the walkie-talkie channels went completely silent. The world beyond the mountains seemed to have completely fallen. After nightfall, we took turns keeping watch. We took the first shift, standing on the lookout platform in the northwest corner, watching the mountain road through night vision binoculars. In the direction of the county town, there should have been light pollution from the high-rises. Now it was pitch black. Suddenly, after a burst of static from the walkie-talkie, a broken voice came through. All defensive lines have been breached. Evacuation failed. So they could talk after all. I picked up the walkie-talkie and leaned in to listen. So they could talk after all. There are still living people in the mountains. Can you hear us? Mommy is coming to find you. The corner of my eye twitched. I couldn't believe what I had heard. In the darkness, Dad lit a cigarette in the courtyard. It sounds like those so-called zombies still have some memories from when they were alive. And they have a hunting instinct. From what they said over the intercom, they're probably coming for us. My face went pale, and I tightened my grip on the axe. Night closed in around us. The mountain guest house was the only island in all that darkness. We had stocked up on supplies. We had reinforced the walls, prepared weapons, and done everything we could. Now, surviving the apocalypse was about to begin. Then Father announced radio silence and a blackout order. After dark, the curtains had to be shut tight, and all lights were limited to the basement. If they could talk, that meant they were aware. They could track and judge things. Light and sound were both signals. The old radio we kept on became our only hope. Father ordered that we only listen and keep the volume as low as possible. He put me in charge of scanning frequencies and writing down the channels. Aside from the scheduled times, the radio had to stay off. That night, I sat at the table in the basement. I marked the day communications cut out as day 1. From day 2 to day 5, nothing happened. Mountains were frighteningly quiet. Even the birds and insects had gotten quieter. Uncle Jong, Father, and I took turns keeping watch on a schedule, 4 hours each, from 8 at night to 8 in the morning. During the day, we patrolled the walls and checked the equipment. We took inventory. Mother handled the food rations. She drew a chart on a big sheet of paper, down to exactly how many grams of rice each person could eat per meal, and how many milliliters of oil we could use. We taped it to the kitchen wall and crossed off 1 box after every meal. Mom, shouldn't we plant some vegetables too? Your dad is turning over that plot out back. Uncle Jang brought the seeds back from town. Can cabbage, radishes, and long beans survive? We'll try. I grew up in the countryside, you know. Farming isn't something that can stump me. At 2 in the morning on day 6, during my watch, I picked up a signal for the first time. The headphones were full of static. I was just about to give up, my fingers turning the dial to adjust the band again, when a mechanical female voice suddenly came through. I grabbed a pen and wrote it down word by word. After daybreak, I opened my notebook on the table and read it aloud to everyone. Emergency broadcast number 037, repeating on loop. Pathogen has been confirmed to spread through the air. After infection, the incubation period is 2 to 48 hours. No outdoor activity is permitted. Protective gear must be worn. Second, the population's natural immunity rate is about 30%. Infected individuals cannot be reversed. Repeat, cannot be reversed. Third, the infected retain some memories from when they were alive and basic cognitive ability. They are capable of disguise and group hunting behavior. Do not respond to any form of distress signal. Do not open doors or windows. Do not let any lights show. 30% are immune. Only 3 out of 10 people won't get infected. Immune or not, we still can't skip protection. From now on, anyone who leaves the yard has to wear a mask before coming back. Wipe yourself down with disinfectant at the door. How would they disguise themselves? I thought about that thing on the walkie-talkie that said Mom was coming to find us. They can copy human speech, act like they need help, and trick you into opening the door. Then, from now on, no matter who knocks, we never open the door. It's not about knocking. The broadcast said, do not respond to any kind of distress signal. No matter how real it sounds, or how much it sounds like a living person, ignore it. What if it really is someone alive? On day 10, the power grid went down. There had been warning signs for days. Main power voltage had been unstable. Lights kept flickering. At 3 that afternoon, every outlet lost power at once. It never came back on. The generator and solar system took over all the power. Father recalculated our energy use. The generator would only run 4 hours a day, from 6 to 8 in the morning and 6 to 8 at night. Rest would depend on solar power and batteries. The fridge was set to its lowest power mode. We'd eat the fresh food first, then move on to the canned goods. Use hot water sparingly. Use firewood to boil water. What if we get several cloudy days in a row? We have enough fuel to run the generator for 40 days. After that, we'll have to rely on solar power. By then, we'll only keep communications and emergency lighting running. Uncle Jong quietly spent the whole afternoon chopping firewood in the yard. Father and I used old asbestos tiles and tarps to build a simple rain shelter over the lookout platform. Day 12. Rainy season came early. In the mountains, rain can come out of nowhere. And once it starts, it lasts all night. At 3 that night, I was half asleep in the basement when hurried footsteps startled me awake. Father pushed open the basement door and walked in. Come with me. Now. I followed him through the pitch-black hallway to the northwest lookout platform. 11 o'clock, edge of the woods. I adjusted the angle. A dark green night vision image swept across my view. Pine trees, bushes, rain, mist. I held my breath. Then, in the gap between 2 pine trees, I saw a white outline. It was small, at least 150 meters away. You see it? Zoomed in all the way, and the image got grainier. I could barely make out its shape. It looked human, standing perfectly still in the rain. Wake Uncle Jang up. A few minutes later, the 3 of us were packed onto the lookout platform. I can't see anything. Visibility is too poor. Wait a little longer. We'll use the lightning to get a clear look. Xiao Chen, keep your eyes fixed on the spot where you saw that shadow. When the lightning flashes, get a good look. I have focusing binoculars. The white outline was still in the same place, with no change at all. The horizon suddenly gave off a faint white glow. I realized right away it was a pre-flash. A real burst of light was about to hit. A flash bright as daylight instantly flooded the whole forest. A woman in a hospital gown came into view. The instant the lightning flashed, she suddenly raised her head. The light only lasted 2 or 3 seconds. Then the world plunged back into darkness. I saw it clearly. It was an infected thing had been in the woods. Who knows how long it had been there. Stay alert on night watch. Don't alarm that thing. The 3 of us stayed packed together on the lookout platform. No one suggested going down, because one question was hanging over all of us. Had she been here many times before? Day 14, after the apocalypse began. The radio picked up a weak signal. I had just turned to a new frequency. Then the radio erupted with heavy gunfire, explosions, and screams. The quarantine zone has fallen. Repeat, quarantine zone 3 has fallen. Hearing the noise, my father rushed downstairs. It's a horde. Whatever you do, don't come this way. This place has turned into a slaughterhouse. Don't gather together. Defend yourselves where you are. Whatever you do, don't gather in groups of more than 30. They'll follow the emergency signal. Only dead static remained on the frequency. I turned the dial for ages, but I couldn't find that frequency again. My father was silent for a long time. All the safe zones are gone, and the army has pulled out. I heard it. Let's go up. Tell your mother and Uncle Jang. My mother and Uncle Jang were in the yard tending the vegetable plot. The cabbage planted the week before had already sprouted. I repeated the broadcast word for word. Then we're on our own. The army pulled out. What exactly are we waiting for in this mountain valley? We have to stay alive. Enough. Let's eat first. Lunch was plain rice porridge with pickled vegetables. The canned food was left untouched. Mother said we should save it for when we had nothing else to eat. No one said a word. After lunch, I went to the lookout tower for my routine patrol. Swept the binoculars over the spot where the woman in the hospital gown had stood. It was empty. There seemed to be a few more ragged scratch marks on the tree. Around 2 in the afternoon, Uncle Jang came running from the direction of the courtyard gate. I climbed down from the lookout tower and grabbed the axe. Father rushed out of the house with a hunting knife in hand. Three of us hugged the courtyard wall, crept up to the inside of the gate, and looked out through the crack. Everyone, don't panic. I'm Old Joe from the forest station. I've patrolled these mountains for 20 years. I knew when you moved in and started renovating. I'm not here to ask for anything. I'm here to pass along some news. Inside is a ledger, a supply list for the families still alive in the surrounding mountains. Who has extra and who needs what? It's all written there. There are 7 households still alive in these mountains, and everyone is barely hanging on. I'll leave the ledger here. The rules are written inside. If you're willing to trade, put out an empty bottle tomorrow. Also, there are a lot of footprints in the woods northwest of you. Something may have set its sights on you. When I'm patrolling the mountain, I'll keep a closer eye on this area for you. He turned and walked into the woods, soon disappearing from sight. Father waited a full 10 minutes before letting Uncle Zhang open the gate a crack and bring the envelope in. It was a folded sheet of A4 paper, handwritten in neat script. It listed the numbers of 7 households and what supplies they had or lacked. Number 1 had extra ice, about 50 gin, and needed medicine. Number 2 had extra eggs and needed staple food. Number 3 had 50 liters of diesel and needed salt. As soon as we joined the supply exchange, word that we were hoarding food would spread. One family connects to relatives and friends. It wouldn't take long before the whole mountain knew. By then, we wouldn't even have to wait for the infected to destroy us. People would rob us first. A neighbor trading eggs with you today could be starving tomorrow and hold a knife to your throat. You have a point, but you're still wrong. Broadcast said not to go over 30 people because it wants everyone spread out to fight. No bunching up. That's the safe way to survive. Do you know how anthropologists define the beginning of civilization? It's a thigh bone. Archaeologists once found a human femur from 15,000 years ago that had healed after being broken. In primitive society, a broken thigh bone meant a person couldn't walk, couldn't hunt, couldn't run, and were certain to die. But the bone healed, which means someone carried him back to the cave. They fed him, gave him water, and kept wild animals away. Took care of him for at least 6 weeks, until he could stand again. That healed thigh bone proved one thing. Someone was willing to pay a price for another person who couldn't help them in return. If we take part in the exchange, we can keep these 7 households steady and give them something to hope for. They're our first line of living defense outside the walls. If there are no living people left in the mountains, how are the 4 of us supposed to hold off those beasts? Old Chen, so you mean we should agree? Agree with conditions and let Zhao Chen set the rules? How do we make the exchange? We do it in whatever way keeps the risk as low as possible. The exchange site won't be in our yard. Pick a spot in the middle, drop off the goods, and leave. No meeting face to face. Supply list only includes extras. We don't reveal our core reserves. Each exchange has a set limit, with small amounts traded more often. We can't let any household figure out what we really have. And finally, we need to learn more about Old Joe. He's been in these mountains for 20 years. He knows the terrain better than we do. He could be an ally, but we have to make sure he's trustworthy. That day, I wrote a full 3 pages of exchange rules. Next afternoon, I stuffed a note into an empty mineral water bottle. It said, rice and salt for anti-inflammatory medicine, compressed biscuits. When Old Joe came by again that evening, both sides finally completed their first exchange for the supplies they each needed. After all the supplies were checked and confirmed, this trade also proved that Old Joe really was a middleman we could trust. At night, I stood on the watchtower and looked out over the mountains. According to Old Joe, countless shelters were still holding on out here. Even though everything around us was dark, I knew we were no longer fighting alone. The second week after the apocalypse broke out, we built a simple supply trading network in the mountains. A while after that, Old Joe kept coming once every 3 days. He steadily handled supply trades and delivery services for us. Starting with the second trade, I asked him for each household's walkie-talkie channel. Old Joe told me there was a shelter at the highest point in the mountains. Before the apocalypse, that family had worked in communications. They had installed a repeater on their roof, which could boost walkie-talkie signals within a 5-kilometer radius. Civilian walkie-talkies usually have terrible range in the mountains. But with the repeater helping, it was basically like setting up a group chat. Spent the whole afternoon tuning the channels. The moment I got through, a voice suddenly came through the static. Number 6 calling. Does anyone have fever medicine? My child has a high fever. I have 2 boxes of canned food and 10 liters of diesel to trade. Number 3 here. Keep the diesel. Save it for yourself. Trade the canned food for half a box of medicine and have Old Joe bring it over tomorrow. This is number 4. I don't have any medicine, but I'll send half a jar of honey for free. Mix it with warm water for the child. Everyone, hang in there. From that day on, the communication channel became the trade hub and information center for the entire mountain area. An information center. As the only deliveryman, Lao Joe was responsible for getting both sides the supplies they needed on time. Here it comes. That brings us back to earlier. Lao Joe was already a seasoned mountain patrolman. He knew every patrol trail in the mountains inside and out. Thanks to Lao Joe's efforts during this time, more and more shelters joined the mountain trade network. The variety of supplies also kept growing. Newly joined number 9 household said they ran a breeding farm. They could provide the whole community with set amounts of pigeon and rabbit meat. That went a long way toward easing the meat shortage. By the 3rd week, The mountains had entered a long thunderstorm season. I was sorting through the supply list in the basement when a huge clap of thunder suddenly sounded outside. I can't put any strength into my left leg. My father and I carried Uncle Jang into the house. After checking him over, my father said his thigh was badly sprained. Luckily, there were no obvious fractures. But Uncle Jang kept shivering, and that night his temperature almost hit 104 degrees. All night, he kept rambling on and off. It doesn't look like just a fall. He must have seen something unclean. Next morning, Uncle Jang finally came around a little. Last night, from the watchtower, I saw a lot of figures moving outside. I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. Then, I saw at least a dozen figures in the woods. Each one stood there like a post, not moving at all. They were far away. Couldn't see them clearly, but I think they were probably scouting the place. That afternoon, I quickly contacted Lao Zhou over the channel. I traded for a bottle of bruise pain ointment and some fever medicine. Lao Zhou delivered them through the heavy rain and showed up outside the gate soaked through. Is Lao Zhang alright? He fell and hurt himself. His leg is inflamed, but he's still pretty clear-headed. Did you notice anything unusual on your way here? On the way over, I found signs that zombies had passed through the woods. The footprints were scattered. I figure a lot of them were washed away by the rain. Can't tell how many there are, so you need to step up your defenses. Be careful on the road, too. Don't worry. Lao Zhou, I'm tough to kill. Even if I do run into them, I can still get away. The next half-month of non-stop heavy rain made the solar panels completely useless. Every shelter's generator had to run overloaded every day. Everyone's diesel reserves were dropping fast enough to see. Xiao Chen, from now on, we're changing our trading strategy. Other than diesel, we won't trade for any other supplies. He took me through another inventory check and told me, under the current conditions, things like medicine and generator equipment are life-saving hard currency. Once something breaks, that's one less we have, and there's nowhere to get more. We need to make it last. The tense days dragged on until the last day of the third week, when Lao Zhou's voice suddenly came over the channel. I need to report something. Something happened at shelter number 4. I went to deliver medicine to them today, but when I got there, the gate was wide open. There was no one inside. No one alive. No bodies either. The weirdest part was that the lock and the barbed wire were both untouched. It was like the whole family had vanished into thin air. The lock was untouched. The gate was wide open. Starting today, no matter what you hear outside, you are not to open the door. Do not open the door. No matter what you hear, do not open the door. By the 5th week after the outbreak, the mountain region was still trapped under endless heavy rain. The disappearance of everyone at shelter number 4 weighed on all of us. Every day, someone reported hearing strange noises near their shelter. Something outside my wall is hitting the barbed wire. It sounds dull and heavy. We spent a full week living on edge like that, till the last day of the 5th week. The rain that had lasted for more than half a month finally stopped. People at shelter number 1 in the mountains said over the channel, "We're going to use the break in the rain to fly a drone around the mountain area." They wanted to check the situation outside. The channel went quiet at once. Everyone held their breath and waited. About half an hour later, the voice from shelter number 1 came on again. The drone flew several kilometers out. Both the mountain roads and the main roads were empty. There were no signs of the infected. As the news spread, scattered sighs of relief came over the channel. Someone said maybe it had all been a false alarm. Maybe the so-called infected had never come here at all. The few shelters that claimed they had seen the infected fell silent. I don't think we should be too optimistic. The infected are definitely still in the mountains. They're just hiding somewhere. All that rain gave them the perfect cover. I agree with this person's view. Let me introduce myself. I used to be a researcher at a virology institute. Based on recent observations, the infected outside have started to develop a collective consciousness. They communicate through pheromones secreted from their skin, just like ants. Someone once saw infected people standing motionless in the woods for a long time. I don't think they were just spacing out. I think they were leaving pheromone markers in that area. I immediately thought of what Uncle Jang found last night. The infected in the woods back then did seem to match the signs of pheromone marking. How can dead people have any kind of collective consciousness? The drone didn't even catch a trace of anything. Stop spreading panic. Exactly. Who actually saw it with their own eyes? Number 9. This is the conclusion I reached based on lab data and real-world observation. If you don't believe me, I don't have to explain it to you. Calling number 9. From what you just said, the infected outside are actually checking each place one by one. Once the timing is right, they'll launch a coordinated attack, right? I can't rule that out. And based on what I've observed, their scouting is almost over. Do we have any way to deal with it? It would be very hard to handle a large-scale horde. I ran some tests. I have an instinctive stress response to sudden bright light and loud, high-decibel noise. That means if everyone works together, we might actually have a chance against the horde. What you're saying is, you want us to expose ourselves on purpose? That's your solution? That's complete nonsense. My father and I exchanged a look, and we both saw the weight in each other's eyes. Trading supplies was one thing, but in a crisis, people really risk their own safety to create interference and expose themselves. Just then, old Joe's voice cut into the channel. I've patrolled these mountains for years and observed different kinds of ants. Their so-called collective consciousness centers on a queen ant that acts as the colony's brain. Does that mean there might be something like a queen ant among the infected too? Very likely. If that's true, the threat it poses would be far beyond anything we imagined. Got it. I'll keep an eye out for everyone. If I spot any signs of the infected gathering in large numbers, I'll let everyone know right away. Old Joe, be careful out there on your own. If things get too bad, come back and hide out for a few days. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. I won't risk my life for nothing. Those infected, a week of intense patrols, combined with the day-night temperature swings during the mountain rainy season, left my father with a severe cold. I told you not to push yourself, but you wouldn't listen. Are you really not going to stop until you worked yourself sick? I'm fine. I can still hold on. The situation is critical. One more person on watch means our home is that much safer. Our doomsday preparations had been too rushed, so we hadn't stocked enough essential medicine. As time went on, medicine became a currency stronger than gold. Everyone only accepted hard survival supplies like diesel as the standard for trade. But our diesel reserves had to keep the generator running. We had none to spare for trading. Just when I was at my wit's end, the radio crackled. Xiao Chen, are you there? What's wrong? Old Joe, Xiao Chen, what supplies are you still short on? We're running low on medicine and diesel at home. If anyone's willing to trade, we can offer twice as much food. You don't need to offer any supplies. Someone is willing to put up 200 liters of diesel and 2 medical kits to hire one person and a large truck that can carry cargo. What do they need the truck for? Moving? Household number 10 is too low-lying and is about to be flooded by the rising river. We've already made arrangements with their relatives at household number 1 on the mountaintop. But they need a large truck to haul their things. We do have one. They're in a real hurry to move, so they're offering a high price. Besides diesel and medicine, you can ask for any other supplies you need. The homeowner is an old technician who knows electrical circuits and machinery. If we save his family, he'll be a huge help to the community in the future. I'll lead the way. You drive. Let's try to get it done fast. What do you think? Uncle Joe, number 9 just said the infected are extremely sensitive to noise. Wouldn't the pickup's engine noise be kind of risky? Thought about that. That's why I scheduled it for tomorrow morning, when the rain and fog in the mountains are at their thickest. They aren't usually active during the day anyway. This is our only chance. For the first time since the apocalypse broke out, I drove the pickup out of the shelter. The mountain road ahead was covered in thick rain and fog. To stay safe, we avoided the mountain loop road and took the forest trail Old Joe had picked toward household number 10. The forest trail was narrow, barely wide enough for one vehicle to pass. Xiao Chen, you know why I'm risking my life to deliver supplies? When I was young, I lived through a mountain fire. It was the driest part of summer. One bolt of lightning struck, and the whole forest caught fire. The fire spread so fast that the fire break we spent all day cutting didn't help at all. By night, the flames still reached us. Back then, I thought it was all over. The city was right below the mountain, with tens of thousands of people and no time to evacuate. Then I saw a strip of light. From the foot of the mountain to halfway up, there were lights everywhere. Car headlights, motorcycle headlights, and flashlights, all connected into one strip of light. It stretched for several kilometers. Thousands and thousands of ordinary people had seen the news online and crossed the mountains with shovels, sickles, and hoes to help put out the fire. Someone asked them if they weren't scared. They said of course they were scared afterward. Just thinking about it made their legs shake. But when it was happening, they just went up there without thinking. Later, when the mountain fire reached the newly cut fire break, people were spread all over the slopes, holding that line with everything they had. Not a single person took even half a step back. I never forgot what they said. Some things, if you don't do them, no one else will. We drove in silence, with all kinds of feelings tangled up inside. After winding through the narrow forest road, we finally turned onto the mountain highway. We're almost there. Household number 10 is just up ahead. It was a self-built house with a yard, right next to the rushing river. The swollen river was about to spill over the levee. We parked the truck in an open clearing. Old Zhang, are you packed yet? They're already at the gate. I'm almost done eating. Sweetheart, mommy won't get sick. How come I couldn't fool you? If only you'd come 2 steps closer. Oh, now. Get in. Hurry, get in and go. Uncle Joe, you were basically Superman just now. Bad news, everyone. Household number 10 is gone. The zombie horde is gathering in the mountains. Everyone, be extremely careful. Old Joe, what exactly happened? What's a zombie horde? Is that true? What's going on? Old Joe, are you okay? Stop yelling. I'm perfectly fine. It's just a shame. Household number 10's whole family could have survived. And the diesel I promised your family is gone too. As long as you're okay, that's what matters. We can find a way to trade for supplies later. Huh? What happened? A tree is blocking the road. It definitely wasn't there when we came through. They even learned how to block mountain roads. These monsters are evolving way too fast. They really won't leave us alone. Xiao Chen, back up and ram the tree out of the way. Give me the crossbow bolts. Quick. Move faster. I'll cover you while you clear the way. Don't panic. Death isn't taking us today. Hold on tight. Hit the gas. Old Joe, we made it out. Don't let up. Floor it and keep it there. Screw you. Old Joe. By the time the mountain lodge's iron gate came into view, the sky had already grown dark. The rain and mist had completely cleared. I slammed the horn several times. Uncle Jong limped over and unlocked the gate. The pickup truck rushed into the courtyard. I collapsed over the steering wheel, shaking all over. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it might burst. My son was hurt. Mom, I'm fine. Where's Uncle Joe? Let's talk inside. I spent the next 5 minutes quickly explaining what had happened. My mother, Uncle Jang, and my father gathered around me. The night was dark and gloomy. Suddenly, resident number 1's voice came through the walkie-talkie. Calling Shansu. Our drone spotted a large number of infected sprinting toward Shansu. What exactly is going on over there? How did those monsters find this place? Okay. This is Shansu. I have a few things to tell everyone. When the horde came, Old Joe stayed behind to cover our retreat. He gave his life to take down the mother infected. The horde is almost here, and my family has nowhere left to run. We'll hold Shansu until the very end. We'll do our best to kill as many infected as we can. After that, everyone, take care of yourselves. This is resident number 9. I have an idea. Since the mother infected is dead, the remaining infected should have completely lost their organization. They're not that smart. They only act on instinct. That means we really might be able to handle this horde. Hey, you're not about to start pushing that bright light and noise theory of yours again, are you? If you're so brave, why don't you go first and show us how it's done? My family alone isn't enough. We need everyone. Who in real life would risk their life on a bet with you? Bro, not everyone is Old Joe. This is the apocalypse. I hope you understand. The channel went completely silent. For a long time, no one said anything. I quietly stood up and went to the storeroom. My father patted Uncle Jang and had him come help. No one said a word, but everyone knew what we were about to face. By then, the sky was slowly getting darker. I raised the binoculars toward the thick woods and saw those dark figures gathering. I decided to fight. This flare is for Old Joe. Resident number 6 in position. I've moved all the fireworks onto the roof. I've never set off this many fireworks in my life. Resident number 1's drone is here to help. Resident number 3, following up. My family doesn't have fireworks, but I put our square dancing loudspeaker on the roof. Full volume. I'll give these dead bastards something to hear. The viral fireworks are ready to go. Household number 2 is here to help. Household number 2, I'll take on a task too. Household number 2, I'm setting off fireworks too. Now you know why that bone healed, right? For the rest of the night, the mountains were filled with non-stop light and sound interference. The horde was trapped tight in a spiral vortex of death. It never managed to break through the interference. At dawn, every shelter shut down its equipment at the same time. Only then did the tangled horde slowly loosen and fall apart. Through the binoculars, the infected stood with their heads tilted up, turning in place. Their movements were blank and sluggish, as if they had lost all sense of direction overnight. Household number 9 analyzed it over the channel. Without the light and sound stimulus, the infected's pheromone markers were completely thrown off. Pheromone network that had covered the entire mountain area had completely failed. That also means, as long as we stay completely silent from here on, it will be very hard for them to locate the shelters again. Before daybreak, the infected wandering through the woods had completely scattered. All they left in the clearing was a dense ring of spiral-shaped footprints. My father, Uncle Jang, and I kept watch on the lookout tower until it was fully light. When I came down, I was so exhausted I could barely stand. My mother cried tears of joy and hugged everyone tightly. I collapsed onto the sofa in a daze. I didn't know whether to feel excited or worried. The horde had only scattered. The crisis was far from over. Those of us still alive had a much longer fight for survival ahead. On the third day after the horde crisis was resolved, at the suggestion of household number 9 and me, the mountain shelters held an online meeting with everyone present. Together, we observed a moment of silence to say goodbye to old Joe. We also honored households number 4 and number 10, who had died in this disaster. On the 5th day after the crisis was resolved, we found old Joe's ranger cabin. There wasn't much in the cabin's cabinet. Aside from a few changes of clothes, there was only a map covered in writing. The entire map was filled with notes. It clearly marked the condition of each mountain road and every hidden spot. The handwriting was fresh. Old Joe had been a ranger for 20 years. He could find his way with his eyes closed. I think maybe he didn't draw this map for himself. He was afraid he might die out there someday, so he left us a way to survive. Carefully brushed my fingers over the writing on the paper, my nose stinging. After that, we spent a long time pushing the dead infected into the valley and burning them. We set up several speakers at mountain forks far from the shelters. They were powered by small solar panels and paired with long-range wireless transceivers. They could be controlled remotely. We concealed them with waterproof, impact-resistant protection. If another horde approaches, we can use directional noise to lure the horde deep into an empty valley. Every household reports a few scattered infected each day. Things still aren't exactly stable, but at least everything is the way old Joe hoped before he died. The spark of life has been preserved. The shelter is growing stronger. At dusk, my father and I climbed a ridge near the mountain lodge with tools on our backs. An old pine tree stood on the ridge. We buried a few of old Joe's clothes under the tree and put up a rough wooden marker as his gravestone. The sun was sinking behind the mountains. Countless Doomsday fortresses are guarding the spark of civilization until the day victory finally comes.